Hello music fans, you're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music, and this is my favorite metal albums of 2024 in each subgenre. Although there's a lot of metal subgenres, so I obviously can't cover them all in this video. I'm going to cover 11 subgenres in this video. Some that I won't cover, I'm not going to cover metalcore because I did a specific video. I already put up my top 5 metalcore albums of 2024 on my channel, so check that out if you like metalcore. I'm not going to cover post-hardcore. I'm not going to cover black metal because, again, I've done my top 5 post-hardcore albums on my channel already and my top 5 black metal of 2024 on my channel already as well. And then I'm not going to cover rock subgenres because I've already made my top 10 rock albums of 2024 in 10 different rock subgenres. So this will be not including metalcore, not including post-hardcore, not including black metal, and I'm not going to make a category for progressive metal either, as that's my favorite genre, and it will be its own video. So without further ado, the genres that I will cover today: sludge metal, post-metal, heavy metal, alternative metal, doom metal, power metal, melodic death metal, technical death metal, avant-garde metal, thrash metal, and symphonic metal. I know there's more, but those are the 11 that I'm going to cover today. Let's start with sludge metal. Of course, if you count progressive stuff, my favorite sludge metal album of the year is Dune's Voidkind, which is progressive sludge metal. And it's just a really, really great album, and I can't say enough good things about it. It's the third album by this band from the UK, and I love every album Dune has made. But for most of these genres, I want to rule out. I'm going to give like a progressive pick and then a more traditional pick in that genre. But this one by Dune, Voidkind, is for fans of Mastodon, The Ocean, and Cult of Luna. Great riffs here. Definitely check it out. Dune, Voidkind. But if you want a more true sludge metal album, even though this pick is still pretty progressive as well, another one that I really love from this year is by the artist called Lord Dying, and the album is called Clandestine Transcendence. And this is sludge metal with stoner doom, thrash, progressive, and extreme metal influences. And it's the 4th album by this American band. The opening track on the album's great. I love how it ends with female clean vocals after having intense, brutal, harsh vocals for most of the song. And this album actually blends a lot of different styles of metal. I hear parts that sound like black metal, parts that sound like prog, a lot of sludge, of course, stoner doom, thrash, folk, and death metal. So I didn't know where to put this. I kind of wanted to talk about it, so I put it in sludge metal, as I think that's maybe the best fit for it. And I don't really listen to much pure sludge metal. There's usually got to be something progressive about it for me to be interested. Let's dive over to post-metal now. So for here, my progressive post-metal pick is going to be Hippotractor with their album Stasis. That's the 2nd album by this band from Belgium. And if you're a fan of bands like The Ocean and Hypnos, I think you'll like this. I love those bands. So Hippotractor is also on Pelagic Records, which those 2 bands are on, so the same label. And the title track, Stasis, is my favorite track on the album. And I also really enjoy the closing track, The Reckoning. So that's Hippotractor Stasis for post-metal if you want a progressive post-metal album. If you want something that's less progressive but still post-metal, maybe check out Julie Christmas with Ridiculous and Full of Blood. And this is more like post-metal with some post-hardcore. It's also got some sludge metal influences. Check out the track End of the World featuring Johannes Persson. And Julie Christmas, this is her 3rd album. She's an American artist. I love her collaborative album with Cult of Luna from 2016 called Mariner. That's how I discovered her. And it's actually my favorite Cult of Luna album and my favorite Julie Christmas album. And all her solo stuff that I've heard is good too, but Mariner's still my favorite. And Yeah, the singles I heard from this Julie Christmas album ahead of time were called Not Enough and Supernatural. They're great as well. And some of my favorite tracks on the album are Thin Skin. That's an awesome song that has some parts in 7, some parts in 4 beats per bar, and then End of the World, which features the vocalist from Cult of Luna. So it sounds most like the stuff that I fell in love with Julie Christmas and Cult of Luna from Mariner. And Julie Christmas reminds me a bit of Chelsea Wolfe in that they've both collaborated with metal bands. Chelsea Wolfe collaborated with Converge. They both have very distinct sounds that blend genres and are hard to describe, but they definitely have a darkness to them. So check this out if you like Cult of Luna or Chelsea Wolfe. That's Julie Christmas with Ridiculous and Full of Blood. Now let's dive over to heavy metal. And I'm going to go with like a more traditional old school pick here, and it's going to be Judas Priest with Invincible Shield. Which is a really great album. Check out the track Panic Attack if you want a preview here. This is the 19th album by this legendary band from the UK, and it's really shockingly excellent considering how old they are. They still know how to rock with the best of them. It's just every song's strong. I thought there would be dud tracks on the album. I started the album and I just kept getting served with banger track after banger track. Panic Attack and Serpent and the King started the album strong. They remind me of the sound of their album Painkiller, which is my favorite Judas Priest album and track. Invincible Shield, Devil in Disguise, and Gates of Hell continue the excellence. The guitar solos, leads, and riffs are great. Rob's vocals are powerful. And yeah, it's just a great album. I could just keep talking through every track, but I don't want this video to get too long. I still have 8 more subgenres to cover. Some of the tracks on this album have this almost southern rock sound combined with groove metal, which I thought was interesting. It made me bob my head. And Giants in the Sky had a part where it went acoustic, or maybe even like Spanish classical guitar, and that was a nice surprise, and it had a really anthemic chorus. And there's even 3 bonus tracks on the Spotify version, which is awesome. So all in all, great album by Judas Priest, Invincible Shield, and my favorite traditional heavy metal album of 2024. Now let's jump over to alternative metal. And if you want a more progressive pick, I'm going to throw Devin Townsend's Power Nerd into this category. It's a little bit hard to categorize as well. Like, is this alternative metal? Some of the songs just sound like hard rock. Some are like progressive metal. Some have moments of ambient, and one even has like a country influence, but it's mostly alternative metal in its sound. My favorite track is Ruby Quaker, which is probably the most quirky track on it, that kind of starts off with a bit of a country sound, but then turns into prog metal. And this is Devin Townsend's 22nd album. He's an amazing Canadian vocalist and guitarist. He's made so many different albums in so many different styles over the years, ranging from extreme metal to prog rock to ambient noise to new age to country, musical theater, and all sorts of unexpected places. And I love most of what he's put out. This album just continues his string of amazing vocal performances. He's my favorite vocalist in the rock and metal world at the moment. It's a bit more of a simple album and more straightforward than some of his more complex works. It's got a bit of a party rock vibe. It focuses on catchy and accessible melodies, but there's still some heaviness. Even though the vast majority of the vocals are clean, there are still some harsh vocals here. I do prefer Devin's more progressive works, but this is still a great album. Yeah, check out this album by Devin Townsend. Gratitude is one of the slower, softer ballad songs that's reminiscent of Spirits Will Collide from Empath. But some of the other singles were great, like Jainism. But Ruby Quaker is probably my favorite. It stands out as it uses more acoustic guitars, has a bluesy country vibe, and is a silly song singing about how he loves coffee, and gets progressively crazier as the song goes on and gets heavy towards the end. At the 3-minute mark, it just suddenly becomes a metal song. So if that sounds good to you, check out Power Nerd by Devin Townsend. And if you want a more traditional alternative metal, more straightforward alternative metal pick, another one that came out this year in 2024 that I like is the EP by Serj Tankian called Foundations. That's also alternative metal, a little hard rock and a progressive rock influence there too. And of course, Serj Tankian is the System of a Down frontman. And I really love the track Justice Will Shine On. It was the second track on the EP. It's really great, powerful, emotional, and heavy song about the Armenian genocide. And I'm just really glad to hear Serj Tankian doing metal and hard rock music. I know he's focused a lot on classical film scores in the past, which he also does well, but it isn't my favorite music. And the EP starts with another great track, AF Day, which starts in nice and heavy like a System of a Down song. Guitar riffing sounds like something Darren would play. Yeah, if you like System of a Down, then definitely check out Foundations EP by Serj Tankian. Let's jump over to doom metal. Now, if you want a progressive doom metal pick, my favorite progressive doom metal album of 2024 is by Oceans of Slumber with Where Gods Fear to Speak. This is progressive doom metal with melodic death, black metal, gothic rock, southern metal, country, gospel, and pop influences. Check out the track Poems of Ecstasy for a preview. And this is the sixth album by this American band. Oceans of Slumber features really strong female vocals from Cami, and now she does harsh vocals on this album. And previous Oceans of Slumber albums had harsh vocals as well, but I believe they were done by other members of the band, and Cami just did the clean vocals. My favorite album by Oceans of Slumber is their 2020 self-titled album. I also like the two before that. I enjoyed their latest album before this, Starlight and Ash from 2022, but I found it was a bit of a step down and lacked some of the heaviness I wanted to hear from them. But Where Gods Fear to Speak sees them return to their heavier sounds, and I'm excited for that. It's excellent, and maybe not quite as good as their self-titled, but definitely getting closer to that level of quality. Clean vocals here by Cami are amazing. She's among the best female vocalists in metal going right now. Her harsh vocals are a little hit or miss. I think she's maybe just learning how to do them, but I like that they're there to provide some aggression and intensity. A lot of the music here is slow, doomy, and sad sounding, but it's also beautiful. And then they hit you with blasts of aggression and intensity with just the right balance between soft and heavy. So if that sounds good to you, check out Oceans of Slumber with Where Gods Fear to Speak. And if you want some more straightforward doom metal that's not really proggy, check out Hamford with their album. It's in some other language, so I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but it's Menguds Hond Sturk. This is melodic doom / death metal with neo-folk influences. It's the third album by this band from the Faroe Islands. And I'm not usually that into doom metal, especially straightforward doom metal, but this is just really excellent stuff. It has a great atmosphere to it. It has a great mix of harsh and clean vocals. Now let's jump over to power metal. If you want my favorite progressive power metal album of 2024, that would be Evergrey with their album Theories of Emptiness. Progressive power metal. They even brought in some gent influences on this album, which was interesting. Check out the track Cold Dreams for a preview of this album. It features Jonas Rensky of Catatonia as well as Selena England doing guest vocals, and it's just a really great track. This is Evergrey's 14th album. They're a Swedish band, and every album that they put out is at least good. This one is excellent. I think it's one of their better albums in their catalog. But this band's an interesting one for me. I feel like they have a lot of excellent albums, but they never quite like step up to the near masterpiece or masterpiece level, even though they're definitely very capable musicians. If you're a fan of Symphony X or Stradivarius, definitely check this out. Like I said, it brings in some more gent influence than their past work. There's some low chugging syncopated guitars and more groove than usual from them. And I love the track that features the singer of Catatonia, Jonas Rensky. And almost all the vocals on the album are clean singing from Tom England, who I sometimes like to call the Michael Bolton of progressive power metal. He's got a really great voice. It's technically impressive. There's a bit of cheesiness to it, but Cold Dreams also features some harsh vocals from Jonas Rensky, and it's really interesting to hear him doing harsh vocals because he doesn't do them anymore in his main band, Catatonia. That sounds good to you? Check out Evergrey and their album Theories of Emptiness. And if you just want a more straightforward power metal without all the progressive bits, then check out my favorite straightforward power metal album of 2024, which would be Warp Speed Warriors by Dragon Force, the ninth album by this band from the UK. And of course, it's cheesy, it's over the top, a lot of guitar wankery and Pac-Man noises and crazy solos and dueling and stuff like that, but it's just very fun to listen to. The lyrics are fantasy based as usual. The guitars are fast, the vocal hooks are catchy, anthemic, and powerfully delivered. And one of the most fun songs on the album for me was Doomsday Party. And for Dragon Force, it's almost like their music is a bit of a joke and a meme, but they're kind of in on the joke and they're just having a lot of fun. This isn't my favorite album by Dragon Force by any means, but it is still pretty good. It's probably kind of smack dab in the middle of their discography if I were to rank it. And it's just generally what you can expect from them is quality. So if you like power metal with crazy fast guitar solos and a bit of cheesy, funny fun, you should enjoy this one by Dragon Force Warp Speed Warriors. Let's jump over to melodic death metal. My favorite melodic death metal album of 2024 is Winter Sun with their album Time 2. This is melodic death metal. It's got some power metal, some symphonic metal, black metal, neoclassical metal, even folk metal, and even progressive metal influences in here. Check out the track The Way of Fire. This is Winter Sun's fourth album. They're a great Finnish band. And this one's been a long time in the making. It's been 7 years since their last album, and it's been 12 years since Time 1. And there's a lot of drama online about how long this took to make, since there were crowdfunding campaigns so long ago, and there's people weren't sure if the album was ever going to come, but it's finally here. I don't know too much about the drama. I wasn't involved in the crowdfunding, but I've seen some comments, discussion, and articles online about that. I'm just glad the people who crowdfunded all those years ago finally have their album. And this album has some really cool Japanese influences that I don't recall hearing as much of on Winter Sun's earlier albums. I really like that flavor of the sound that they've added. And both harsh and clean vocals here. Guitar playing on this is amazing. The production sounds great too. Yeah, just a great album. I'm not going to talk through every track here because I could talk about it for a while, but definitely love The Way of Fire. The fast drumming, fast guitars, intense harsh vocals, powerful clean vocals, the folk influence, the Japanese influence, the guitar soloing, the riffing. And then the closing track, Silver Leaves, is a 13.5-minute prog epic that I also love. That sounds good to you. Check out Time 2 by Winter Sun. Now let's check out technical death metal. My favorite technical death metal album of 2024 is by the band Ulcerate, and it's called Cutting the Throat of God. And this is very avant-garde technical death metal. It's got some post-metal influences. It's very atmospheric. Check out the track To Flow Through the Ashen Hearts for a preview. This is Ulcerate's seventh album. They're from New Zealand, and I haven't heard all their albums yet, but I did hear their album before this from 2020 called Stare Into Death and Be Still. That's also excellent. The singles that came out for this 2024 release were excellent as well ahead of time, so I expected great things, and they really delivered. If you're a fan of crazy dissonant death metal with really guttural vocals the whole time, but having a cool avant-garde and atmospheric vibe to everything, check this out. If you like bands like Ad Nauseum and Artificial Brain, definitely check this one out by Ulcerate, Cutting the Throat of God. Great favorite technical death metal album of 2024. Now let's talk about avant-garde. I've got 3 genres left to go. Avant-garde metal. Now this is an interesting one. If you want something progressive, check out Thy Catafalque's album that I'm just going to call 12 because I can't pronounce the title of the album, which I assume is in Hungarian, as they're a Hungarian band. This is avant-garde progressive black metal. It's got post-metal, got death metal, symphonic, experimental rock in there. My favorite song is Mindanao. This is the 12th album by Thy Catafalque. They're a Hungarian band. Their last album, Halfold, was also excellent. They are all over the place. They have a black metal core, some shrieking vocals, but they have a lot more clean vocals on this album than the last album, if I remember correctly. And they're not afraid to go in all sorts of different directions. This album is luckily just as much as a wild adventure as their last album was. Lots of clean vocals and melody on here, but lots of intensity and variety. Some parts sound like Middle Eastern music, some like electronic music, and some like intense metal, but it's all just enjoyable and well done. Check out 12 by Thy Catafalque for my progressive avant-garde metal pick. But I do think the best example of a poster child avant-garde metal album, another one that I want to throw out here, even though it's kind of progressive too, it's hard to be avant-garde and not be progressive. Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum with Of the Last Human Being. It's avant-garde metal with some experimental prog rock and black metal influences as well. Check out the track The Gift for a preview here. This is the 4th album by Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. They're an American band. And this is the first album of theirs that I heard in full. The early single that I heard was really unique and interesting, so I put it on my list. We Must Know is very intense. The Gift is great, and it's like avant-garde black metal. It reminds me of Enslaved and Isan. And the whole album has lots of male and female vocals, lots of classical instruments too, like violins and horns. And the female vocals kind of remind me of Bjork. And all in all, it's just a very quirky avant-garde album for people who are into weird stuff like Mr. Bungle and Diablo Swing Orchestra. If you like the sounds of that, check out Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum and Of the Last Human Being. Now, thrash metal is the next genre I want to talk about, and I didn't listen to as much thrash metal this year as last year, but the most fun I had while listening to something that kind of resembled thrash metal this year was when I listened to Sons of Destruction by the Native Howl. And this may be even more of a bluegrass album. It's progressive bluegrass, but they combine it with thrash metal, country, and alternative rock. They call their sound thrash grass, which I think is really awesome. It's the 3rd album by this American band, the Native Howl, and it's just really fun bluegrass music with the intensity of thrash metal. Imagine taking like the banjo breakdowns of early Mumford and Sons music, but adding thrash metal drums behind them and intense vocals. It's not like they scream or do harsh vocals, but it's just this really gritty, intense, powerful vocals that would fit over thrash metal music. They also kind of remind me, the Native Howl reminds me more of the country-inspired Metallica songs, but done even better than how Metallica does them. And I found out about the Native Howls because they won season 1 of this show that I watched, Hit Parader's No Cover, which is a kind of like a good version of a music contest with judges. It's where musicians actually play original music instead of like how on American Idol they all just sing covers of popular songs. I'd rather watch artists play their original music. So I really like this no cover contest. And for winning that contest, they got a contract with Sumerian Records. And they put out this release, which is great. So if that sounds good to you, check out the Native Howl with Sons of Destruction. And last category here for this video, it's getting kind of a long video here, so apologies to everyone, but I wanted to explain these albums and hope you find something in this video that you want to check out. So I'm going to talk about Symphonic Metal, and my favorite Symphonic Metal album of the year is by Nightwish, and it's Yesterwind. It's symphonic metal with power metal, folk metal, and gothic metal influences. and it's their 10th album. Nightwish is an amazing Finnish band. I've liked some of their past material, but I'm not really a big fan of theirs or of the symphonic metal genre in general. But they are a big name, so I do always want to check out what they put out. And I thought their last album, Human to Nature, was pretty average symphonic metal. It was okay, nothing special. But this album, Yesterwind, is a shorter album. There's a standard version, and there's an orchestral version, kind of like how Isan did that earlier this year. And I like the standard version better than the orchestral version. And it's a notable step up from their last album. Not something that I'm going to listen to a lot, but if you like symphonic metal, I'm sure you've already listened to this because they're the biggest name maybe in the genre. Yesterwind by Nightwish. It's really enjoyable album, good riffs. I kind of want them to push the sound further. The guitar parts didn't really stand out to me. Nothing was too memorable, but there are a lot of really epic sounds, symphonic orchestral parts. So of course it's well done. If that sounds good to you, check out Nightwish with Yesterwind. And those are my favorite albums of 2024 in 11 different subgenres of metal. Check out my top 5 metalcore albums of 2024, my top 5 post-hardcore albums of 2024, my top 5 black metal albums of 2024. Those are all already up on my channel. And I did a similar video for rock featuring 10 different rock subgenres where I give my favorite album of every rock subgenre in that video. So check that out as well if you're interested. Next up, I'm thinking maybe I'll do my 5 favorite jazz fusion / funk albums of 2024. Maybe if I feel like it, I'll do one on like electronic pop and hip hop albums of 2024. Otherwise, I'm probably going to get into like my favorite EPs of 2024 and then do prog rock, my favorite prog rock albums of 2024, and then my favorite prog metal albums of 2024. And that's kind of the schedule I have planned. Maybe I'll do my favorite prog epics of 2024, as well as my favorite debut albums. And I do kind of want to do a big epic video of like what are just my top 25 or something overall albums of the year. Let me know what you think of this video of my picks. Have you heard all of these, any of these? What do you think of them? What are your favorite metal albums of 2024 in each of these metal subgenres? And stay tuned for next time. Peace out.